Let's dive right in by challenging a massive, deeply ingrained financial assumption. We've all been told since day one that keeping a large emergency fund sitting safely in cash is always the smartest, safest financial move you can make. And honestly, it feels incredibly secure, right? It's tangible, it feels responsible, and it's exactly what our parents taught us to do. But today, we're going to look at the actual data. We really need to unpack why that supposedly safe assumption might actually be holding you back financially. Look, if you've diligently built up a savings cushion, you should be incredibly proud. Seriously. Most people struggle to save anything at all, so you did the hard work. But now that you actually have that money set aside, we need to ask a pretty tough question. Is your safety net actually costing you money? Conventional wisdom says to build a fund, lock it away, and just forget about it. What they don't tell you is that where you let that money sit matters enormously. See, we often confuse the perceived safety of a basic bank account with the actual risk of losing your purchasing power over time. A standard savings account at a brick-and-mortar bank feels exactly like a vault. Your principal balance literally never goes down. But here is the catch. Purchasing power is the actual amount of groceries, gas, or rent those dollars can buy tomorrow. And while your balance might stay exactly the same on the screen, the real-world value of those dollars is constantly under attack. Which brings us to the first silent threat, inflation. It's a slow-motion loss that never actually shows up on your bank statement. You're never going to get a push notification on your phone saying your money just lost value, but it happens every single day. Inflation acts like this invisible tax on your idle money, quietly eating away at the buying power of every single dollar you've stashed away. When you look at standard bank yields compared to inflation, the whole problem becomes crystal clear. Your traditional bank pays you a tiny, tiny fraction of a percent for keeping your money there. That's your nominal return. But when inflation inevitably runs higher than that tiny yield, it swallows your earnings completely. That leaves you with what's called a negative real income. Basically, your money is effectively going backward while standing entirely still. Let's run the actual math on this because it's wild. Say you have a $9,000 emergency fund. In a standard account earning 0.4%, that money earns you a whopping $36 a year. That's it. That's what your bank pays you. But if you move that exact same money to a high-yield account earning 4.7%, it pays over $400. That is nearly a $400 difference every single year. For doing the exact same job, it's your money. You should absolutely be the one keeping that profit. Now, let's move on to the second invisible threat, which is opportunity cost. In plain English, opportunity cost is basically the penalty of what your money could have earned if placed in a safe investment vehicle instead of just sitting there idle. Every single dollar you leave doing nothing is a dollar that cannot work for you. The numbers here are honestly staggering. Let's look at a tale of two different approaches following the 2009 market bottom. Investors who hoarded cash purely out of fear averaged a measly 1.4% return over the next 3 years. Meanwhile, those who invested saw over 16% annually. Staying in cash just because it feels safe means you are missing out on years and years of compounding growth. Let's look at another real-world scenario to put this into perspective. Say you have an excess $8,500 sitting in a basic savings account. Over a decade, that's going to earn you maybe a few $100. But if you took that excess cash and invested it in an index fund averaging a 10% return, it could grow to over $22,000. Keeping excess money parked in cash could literally cost you over $12,000 in missed growth over a decade. It's huge. Now, let's take a breath, because we are absolutely not advocating for reckless behavior here. An emergency fund is completely vital, and you absolutely need one. So let's establish exactly how much cash is essential versus how much people tend to oversave simply out of fear. Finding the right balance is absolutely key to protecting yourself without stunting your wealth-building potential. The golden rule here is keeping 3 to 6 months of essential living expenses. Notice the word essential. We're talking about just the bare minimum needed to keep you housed, fed, and insured. Rent, basic groceries, utility bills. This absolutely does not include discretionary spending like your streaming subscriptions, dining out, or vacations. Because let's be real, in a true emergency, those expenses are the first things you cut anyway. You really want to calculate this number based on actual real-world emergencies. For instance, data shows the average job hunt can take around 30 weeks. Medical emergencies or critical home repairs are other totally valid reasons. If you're a single renter with highly stable employment, 3 months might be perfectly fine for you. But if you're a homeowner, if you freelance, or if you have dependents, you definitely want to aim for 6. Anything beyond that, right size though, that is just trapped money.
If you're finding this valuable, please subscribe to Wealth Lab and share this video with your friends and family. It really helps us grow. Now let's talk about exactly where to move that trapped money so it actually works for you.
The crucial point here is finding practical options that keep your money completely accessible while still growing it responsibly. You really don't have to choose between total gridlock at a traditional bank and high-risk investments. There's actually a very comfortable middle ground.
You can so easily upgrade your strategy using things like high-yield savings accounts, money market funds, or ultra-safe treasury ETFs. These vehicles are specifically designed to give you much higher yields while keeping your capital highly secure and, most importantly, ready to go exactly when you need it.
I know a lot of people get confused by money market funds, but simply put, they are just highly liquid vehicles offered by brokerages. And by high liquid, I mean you can cash them out quickly without facing any penalties. They invest in short-term government debt, they often provide way better yields than standard savings, and depending on where you live and the specific fund, they can even offer state tax exemptions, which is a massive bonus.
Now, people always worry about access, right? A standard high-yield account gives you same-day access to your cash. An ETF like SGOV or a money market fund might take one business day to settle. But guys, for almost any real-world emergency, one day is perfectly fine. This one-day float is entirely standard and safe. You can easily just put an immediate emergency expense on a credit card today and simply pay it off tomorrow when the funds settle.
So I want to leave you with a final thought to really reflect on today. Where is your emergency fund sleeping tonight? Is it working for you or is it working for your bank? Your money deserves so much better than the default option. Take just 15 minutes this week, check your accounts, and make absolutely sure your safety net isn't quietly dragging you down. Thank you for joining us today. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to Wealth Lab. We'll see you in the next one.